Ah, the beautiful, unsurpassed Rouge Valley. Nature conservatarian. Tobacco. Don't freak. Look at this stuff. Top 1% wildlife preserve in Canada. Guys, you'll forget you're in Toronto. If there are any Sixers out there, you fucking people go to Don Valley Trail. This is the real shit up here. If you look at the map of the Greater Toronto area, you're gonna see a nice chunk in the northeast quadrant that's all green. Like all of the other parks and all of this bullshit that you spend your Sundays in preening and acting trendy in throughout the GTA, the Greater Toronto area, you put all of that together, it's not even half of the Rouge Valley. So one of the reasons I moved to Scarborough, talk about getting out of downtown, eh? People are like, oh, Northern California is so fucking great. Yeah, but who's going to get in a goddamn car from LA or San Paulo or Palo Alto, right? And drive up into the mountains. Of course it's beautiful. That fucking Oregon's beautiful. Those goddamn militia in Oregon, eh? There's like white militiamen running amok up there. Nobody talks about those fuckers. They're terrorists, aren't they? They're trying to overthrow a legitimate authority, aren't they? Aren't they? I was going to start this shot with a very different. I was going to start this this YouTube video of mine with a very different picture, folks. I thought this might grab people's attention, eh? If you saw that in the thumbnail, huh? What would you think about that? The purpose of my bringing this book up to the Rouge Valley is twofold. A, to read it, and B, to drill into any non-Muslim, non-theist, non-creationist's mind that religion and belief in God has a basis, and the basis is reason. I'm going to read the first few pages of this book by the late eminent scholar of Islam, Shia scholar. I'm a Shia, you may have figured that out by now. And it'll speak for itself. I might offer a few words of commentary. But you'll see that far be it to say that Islam, at least, doesn't have a basis in reason. In fact, the whole thing is predicated around reason. The first and foremost belief, of course, is a belief in God, the most exalted. Yeah, I still smoke it like a joint, okay? That's my business. Believing in God, the most exalted and the most high, my dear viewer, is predicated on reason. I had another beautiful atheist friend visit my YouTube channel and leave a comment saying, show me evidence. He said religious faith is based on a lack of evidence. You know, that's because you have sayings like faith is the evidence of things unseen and all this stuff. But guys, what about faith in your own self? That's based on unseen stuff. You got odds stacked up against you. You got someone like Steve Jobs or Hercules or Gandhi or Mother Teresa or Nelson Mandela. All these people, I'd even go as far as say Napoleon. Hey, Hannibal. All these people had insurmountable odds. Hey, do you know, by the way, I'm listening to this really interesting audiobook. It's called Freakonomics. You may have heard of this fellow by the name of Levitt. And yes, I'll get to this just briefly. In fact, I'll leave this here in the background so you can stare into the face of what you consider to be like this trains running in the background. It's amazing up here, guys. Guys, if there's any 416ers out here, you guys need to come out to the Rouge Valley and you need to forget about your little Don Valley trendy trail, eh? I'm like from Pakistan, I gotta come out here and explain this stuff, but I'm happy to say that I've hiked, biked, triked, walked, driven, run, been run, run after, all over this goddamn town. And I know all the best spots, basically. All the way out to Ajax and Pickering, all the way out to Hamilton and Milton. right? All the way north to Barrie and all this stuff. Blue Mountain, I know the best spots, right? GTA for sure. Downtown, I know like the back of my hand. You can walk around downtown without even being on a main road. You can go in back of all these buildings. There's fountains and railings and sculptures. Has anyone seen this beautiful mother elephant with her little babies in tow? This massive life-size bronze statue in back of the RBC building on King and Bay? Probably not, eh? You're probably like Bay Streeters walking up and down preening yourselves in your $3,000 wannabe suits. Guys, the face of evil is about to speak to you. Alright? And the face of evil is going to lay it out in terms of belief in God and reason. And please put your judgments aside, or rather, take this as an all I'm doing is sharing my point of view with you. Don't you understand? I'm not trying to convince you of it. I'm trying to validate it for myself. So if I am living in a delusion, dear atheist friends, I really want you to let me know and be patient as I try to be patient with you. Now, this book is essentially on Islamic jurisprudence. Okay, so everyone's like, well, religion is full of rules. Of course religion is full of rules. That's because life is full of complications, right? So if you want to be happy, you do things the right way. If you do things the right way, you'll be happy. If you do things the wrong way, you're not going to be happy. So therefore, ergo, there is a right way. That's what this stuff is about. Now, to say that Imam Khomeini was one of the most influential people of the 20th century is an understatement, okay? He was born in May 1900, okay? Exiled first from Iran to Turkey. The Turks couldn't even handle him for a year. November 64, and he was kicked out of Turkey in October 65. Why? Because he was a revolutionary. That's basically all that is. And the Shah, no matter what your wine drinking, pork eating, and sodomizing and whatnot, and I don't have anything against gays, I just have a lot against homosexuality in general. I think it's disgusting to put the most sensitive part of your body into the most disgusting and poisonous part of someone else's body, and then you're worried about things like, oh, where did AIDS and gonorrhea and syphilis and all this nonsense, STDs, where sexually transmitted diseases, where they come from? They came from the fact of you basically ending up with shit and piss in your mouth. It's disgusting and it's absolutely abhorrent, and it's basically against it's against reason, and you know, moreover, religion has to accord with two things: reason first and foremost, as I'm going to demonstrate here shortly, and human nature. Exiled from Turkey, and then from he went then back to Iraq. Okay, he was in Iraq for 13 years. Iraq's a Shia country as well, and then exiled to France, obviously in October '78, and then finally came back to Iran triumphant only several months later, 5 months later, or what have you, in let's say 3 months later, in February of 1979, and then he ended 2,500 years, single-handedly ended 2,500 years of monarchy. Now, the reason that revolutionary Shias, such as myself, as opposed to the Pahlavi kind of Iranians, the reason we don't like the Shah is because the Shah was basically an imperialist pawn, basically. If you think that's anything other than a factual statement, the onus is on you, not me, because I don't have any doubts about what I'm saying. If you have any doubts, it's up to you to do the work. I don't have any doubts in the existence of God. It's not, the onus is not on me to prove. It's like our sixth Imam said, peace be upon him. God, why would I have to prove you when you've never not been? Everything else needs proving. You need to prove to me this tree exists, and that it's not a figment of my and your collective imaginings. You may be a figment of my imaginings. All I know is that I exist and the world exists and God exists. There may not be a single solitary soul in this universe that is sentient apart from myself. I know that I'm sentient. That's all I know. And I know there's a world at large. I know I didn't create myself, and I know I didn't create the world, and the world didn't create itself. Therefore, there's a creator. It's so stupid. It's so stupid and banal, and yet we got to spend like thousands of years fighting each other over this rubbish. You're going to see what Imam Khomeini says about society and justice and whatnot in just a few pages. He covers everything. So it's a book on jurisprudence. you know, Ayatollah Uzma Imam Khomeini compilation, Persian, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. Now it gets into things like the Hajj and praying 5 times a day and purification and, you know, like marriage and things like that. However, the foundational aspects are the ideological principles of Islam, and the first one is belief in God. And by the way, the whole discussion. How's it going? You want to wait for YouTube? Oh, come on! I need beauties like you on my channel. Give us a nice smile. Oh, look at that. That was 100%. Thank you. Find a nice guy and don't worry what he thinks about you. You don't need someone else validating you, all right? Hey, you don't need someone else validating you. Remember that. It's true. Girls kick ass. Guys are idiots, ma'am. I know. I would know, wouldn't I? Take care. God bless you. Anyway, I put out a video once, and one of my atheist friends was like, you know, go back to shouting at people. Yeah, you know, that's the way it is, right? So anyway, so blah 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 blah. So I'm just gonna start reading from. They respect him so much, including myself. They've put his words in quotation marks. So belief in one God. Okay, here we go. None, not even the seal of the prophets, Khatam al-Anbiya, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, peace and mercy of God be upon him, and his descendants, who is the most knowing and the most endowed of creatures, could understand the sacred essence of God. Do you understand? That's the only thing you need to kind of just push past the boundaries of, hey, you know what, if I don't understand it, then it can't exist. Are you crazy? If I don't measure it, it doesn't exist? What kind of rubbish is that? You think there's not things at large in this universe that you can't even measure? There's things all around you. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that we created pairs of everything, min anfusikum, from yourselves, wa min, you know, min al-thamarat and so forth, plants and trees and animals, they're all in pairs, wa mimma la ta'lamun, and of things that you have no idea about. Like polarity and electromagnetism, everything has a complementary negative force. Every positive force has a complementary negative force. Imam Ali, peace be upon him, said that glory be to God who created a universe of you know, of opposites, guys. So the point is that the whole thing is based on reason. You know, one of my atheist friends came to one of my my videos, and he was like, he's basically like, well, the same kind of thing. He said religious faith is based on evidence, and he said is based on lack of evidence. Therefore, give me evidence of God or something like this. Now, here's the thing. Guys, his statement of religious faith is based on lack of evidence, I don't even know where he came up with that from. Apart from things like faith is the sight of things unseen and all this kind of stuff. But that, again, goes back to, what about faith in yourself? There has to be some purpose to life, right? Life is not just fun and games, and this world is not an abode of comfort and happiness. It's an abode of trials and tests and ants and all kinds of nastiness that we got to deal with, right? And you got to deal with it like you got to man up, or you got to woman up, and you got to understand that in a universe that is so full of purpose. I asked a question on another video, and people didn't like that either. I was like, how can a universe be full of purpose and the universe itself doesn't have a purpose? Another thing is, the universe doesn't explain itself, nor can it ever explain itself. The system of rules and physical laws and natural phenomena that apply within the system do not explain the system itself. I've gone through this on numerous times. It's worth repeating. فَذَكِّرْ إِن نَفَعَتِ الذِّكْرَى. So, remind or repeat and admonish, you know, because repetition does benefit. This is according to the Quran. So, in any case, so I want to zip through this, but at the same time I'm at 14 minutes, and so therefore I want to really zip through this. Okay, so basically what he says is this. The entire universe is a name of God, and it's basically a sign of God. And everything points, nothing comes into being by itself, okay? Everything points to something else. The intellect of every human being understands this according to one's primordial nature, that everything has a cause and nothing is self-explanatory. Although there has to be something that explains everything. That's what God is. And God is not explainable. That's the only thing. It's like, how do you put it? Like, how could you have a God who's walking about, or he's like a tree in a physical form? Like, Imam Ali, peace be upon him, said once again that the reason that things have similarities and differences is to show you that nothing is similar or different to God, right? And the things are dependent on, everything's dependent on someone else, and it goes to show you. To me, he looks like a kind, benevolent old man, and that's what he was. People around him loved him to death. He was so sweet and so kind to kids and all this kind of stuff, guys. You guys vilify him and mock him and revile him and call him a terrorist, and all he had was his prayer mat and his books. That's all he had, and his little thing to wash himself with. But that's it. Like a little like this little thing that we wash our butts with, eh? Guys. So there you have it, right? That's my summation for today. All right, so you'll say he's the ultimate terrorist. Ultimate terrorist is someone like Bin Laden or Zarqawi or one of them people. Okay, so yeah. So cause and effect and cause, everything, and it opposes the dictates of reasons that something be transformed into something else without being an external cause. If water turns to steam or ice, yada yada. So he's talking about causality, obviously. Everything requires a cause, and therefore everything leads back to the existence of God. Even though he says reasons to prove the existence of God are essential, although reason is essential to prove the existence of God, he says it's like, this is where belief comes in, guys. It's a very cool passage. He says that it shouldn't be forgotten that they are simply a means for the intellect to perceive. As has been said, people who seek to prove the existence of God through reason walk with a wooden leg. That is, proof like wooden leg is artificial and can only support the human being for a time. Whereas that which human being can rely upon is faith, which fills one's heart and gives one the ability to envision the manifestation of God. He who feels it knows it. That's really all I need to say. I mean, he goes on talking about why there can't be multiple gods based on verse of the Quran. He goes on to say that, you know, what's the value of believing in God. He goes on to talk about the unification of people. We're all creatures of God and we all want peace, and there's such a beautiful discussion. But, you know, on the one hand, I've reached 17 minutes, I'm running out of battery, all this kind of stuff, yada yada yada. You know what, I'm gonna go back to this book. It's really actually very good. I just want to read this one passage, like a couple of paragraphs down the line, where he talks about the purpose of religion. It's not to fight people and to kill people and all this kind of stuff. So, proofs of monotheism. Okay, the harmony of the elements of nature. By regarding the world and nature, we realize that relationship and harmony exists between the sun, moon, and the earth. A result of the earth revolving around the sun, we have 4 seasons. A result of its revolving around itself, as in the revolution of the earth itself, we have day and night. This is Imam Khomeini's words, by the way. You'll be like, well, where's all the vitriol? Where's all the fanatics? I don't know. You fucking tell me. Sorry, I'll keep this R-rated with 1 F-bomb, eh? Hopefully. Due to the radiance of the sun, water in the sea evaporates and takes the form of clouds. The difference in degrees of temperature over the earth cause appearance of winds. The winds carry... And so he basically, what he's doing here is he's essentially repeating a verse of the Quran. He's explaining it out. He's writing it out. He's kind of elaborating on it, if you will, because as he says later on, as the Holy Quran tells us, and your God is one God. There is no God but He, the merciful, the compassionate. And this is the Quran, you know, chapter 2, verses 163 to 164. And then he says, and there's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal says, there's many verses like this. The Quran is littered with verses like this about natural phenomena. Surely in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the succession of day and night, and the ships that flow over the sea with what benefits mankind, and in the water which God sends down from the heaven, giving life with it to the land after its death. That's another big sign of God. The earth dies and then comes back to life every spring. It literally dies. These plants are dead. Any scientist will tell you there's absolutely no living activity going on in these plants when winter comes. It's like they're dead, and then they come back to life again and continue as if nothing happened. And that, in Quranic terms, that's basically, I've been sick all winter, eh? My goddamn ex-property management company, if you watch some of my videos at 230 Logan Avenue, I turned that place into like a science museum, science art museum / aftermath of a punk rock band that came through and they thought they were Sid Vicious, only they were tripping on methamphetamines instead of taking LSD. Sends down water from the heaven, giving life with it to the land after its death, spreading through all that, spreading through that all kinds of animals, and in the dispersal of the winds and the clouds constrained between the heaven and earth. Certainly there is signs for people of reason. The inevitability of corruption with the belief in multiple gods, and so Allah says in the Quran, if there were multiple gods, the earth would be in disorder, the universe would be in disorder. If there were multiple gods, they'd have multiple egos and they'd be fighting, basically. The effective beliefs in oneness of God. Now, here's the passage I want to talk about. The names of God. And so, in the same way, in order to arrive at the ideal society of the Quran, we must build our society with divine qualities. For example, human being in social life needs peace in his life, and peace is one of the beautiful names of God. A person also needs kindness and forgiveness for well-being in individual life as well as society. And Rahman and Rahim, merciful and mercy-giving, one general for everyone and one specifically for those who believe in him and obey him. And essentially obeying him means obeying your conscience. And so my atheist friends who say, well, it's enough to be good because you should be good, that's actually the correct approach, and it's a spiritual approach. And so I laud those kinds of things, and you will be rewarded for that approach, and you will go to heaven if you live your life according to that approach, regardless of what anyone says. And if you've got any questions, email me. I'll explain it to you rationally, I'll explain it to you scientifically, I'll explain it to you using the Quran and the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, and I'll also debunk anyone who's a religious person who comes at you with anything else. You need only to be good and believe